This is CounselCast, part of the Legal Talk Network, and I'm your host, Karen Conroy. When you face a complex case outside your expertise, you bring in a co-counsel for next-level results. When you want to engage, expand, and elevate your firm, you bring in a marketing co-counsel. In this podcast, I bring in marketing experts who each answer one big question to help your firm achieve more. Here's today's guest.
Yeah, my name's Steve Fretzin. I'm a four-time author, podcast host of Be That Lawyer. And most importantly, I work with lawyers every single day to help them build the practice of their dreams through business development and marketing, coaching, and training. Most lawyers don't learn business development in law school or at the law firm level. With me, they do. They realize that winging it is not a great strategy, and having processes, plans, and execution in place and accountability to achieve goals, that anything's possible.
Steve, the part that you left out is that you are also a former guest of the podcast. This is your
That is true. I did leave that out. How could I forget? Yeah. Oh, my God.
That's an important part of you. You should be adding that into your bio. That's an important part for everyone to know.
Yeah. So I'm a two-timer,
well, we
if you
have
will.
so much in common. I feel like we are kind of not quite overlapping, but definitely we have so many topics and information and clients and work in common, but we do slightly different things. And so that's part of what we're going to talk about. So we were talking about this before we started recording, and I think where all of these pieces of marketing and business development and all of the parts of running a law firm get overwhelming. And so I think the question that we're going to talk about today is balance realistic for lawyers? And so let's start by talking about what, first of all, is the difference between the kind of work you do and the kind of work we do. So business development versus marketing. I know you have a great article that you just wrote on your site about this. So let's start by figuring that out first.
All right. So I wanted to define those two things because lawyers love to call business development marketing, and they'll call anything business development or marketing, which is better than sales. That's the right. Evil word they never want to use. So they'll figure out any other word other than sales to call what they're doing. But the reality is that the way I see it is business development is relationships that are generated through your time and your efforts. So that's meeting for coffees, it's meeting with clients, it's talking with people through a buying decision. It's all of the soft skills that go along with one-to-one communication that develops business, new relationships, strategic partnerships that elevates how you build business. Marketing is more.
And how is that not sales?
Oh, no, it's sales. We just don't call it that because of the snowflakes and the tender little dandelions that are the lawyers out there. Sales.
Exactly. Okay.
That all being said, I also teach what's called sales-free selling, and lawyers go, "What's that?" That's where we
I want that.
Yeah, we want that, right? So it's how do we develop relationships? How do we ask questions? How do we listen, understand, empathize, and ultimately make people more comfortable with us and then believe in us that we're problem solvers so that we don't have to sell. So instead of having to convince or pitch to get business, what I'm teaching are the soft skills so we don't have to do that. And so while we're goofing about sales, the reality is that there are ways to do it in a way that doesn't make you feel icky. And that's what lawyers are most interested in with me is they don't ever want to feel like a salesman or feel icky. And so I've worked my whole career to try to work through process and language to make that palpable for them. Okay.
I feel like that's the title for your next book, How to Not Feel Icky.
How to Not Feel Icky. Right. That could be number 5. Yes. Because I'm dying to write another book after the 4 I've just put out. Like I just need to take a break. Right. That's what I'm thinking.
But I feel like there is actually two sides to that icky feeling. And the on the potential client side, it's icky too, to feel like you are in that used car salesman position where it has been reduced down to price. And so I feel like those are all red flags that you're doing it all wrong. And so sales can be totally rewarding and completely empty of that icky feeling if you're doing it right.
Well, let's talk about the way the world has changed in the last 20 years. And this will help lawyers to really understand why we don't need to do sales anymore. All right. And that is buyers have changed. So what are buyers all about? You're a buyer and I'm a buyer and everyone listening's a buyer. We buy things. Okay. We don't want to be sold. What we want is we want price and we want information and we want to be consulted and told what to do. Here's the solution, et cetera. Basically, we're looking for that. The problem is then what happens is people are giving you the prescription before the diagnosis. And that's not necessarily a good situation either, right? Like walking into a doctor's office with a hurt arm, he says, we'll just cut that off and that'll take care of it. Well, don't you want to hear what happened? Don't you want to ask me a few questions that might be helpful? So the idea that we don't have to go in and do pitch meetings, right? Do little finger quotes, pitch meetings anymore. We can go in and we can build strong relationships, ask questions, get buy-in, that the problems they have are the solutions that we can resolve. If so, keep moving forward. If not, let's move it out and figure out who might be a better fit. So that's really turning it around on the buyers to say, look, I'm not telling you can't buy. I'm just telling you before we talk about solutions, let's talk about the problems and let's talk about how deep that rabbit hole goes. And that's really the new way to sell, is to not sell, but rather to focus on the diagnosis. Yeah.
So how does this relate and tie into marketing? And then I'm going to bring this to the big question after we kind of define this piece of it.
Well, do we want to define marketing now that we've defined sort of business development and that way?
Yeah,
and then,
as
then
compared
put them
to
together?
business development. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So the way that, and again, I'm not a marketing person every day like you are, in the sense that I'm not, not doing websites. I'm not doing, social media necessarily. I do all those things for myself and I can, talk intelligently about them, but that's not my jam. So, but marketing is, how do we build our brand? How do we get the information out there so that people know us? It's like, the billboard you keep passing on the road. Eventually people know, you're a lawyer or that you do personal injury or whatever it is, because they've seen it over and over again. So when I post on social media, when I put out my newsletter, when I write an article in the Chicago Daily Law Bulletin or publish a book or have a podcast, that's all marketing. That's all supporting the efforts I'm making on the business development side. And so what I'm saying is, if you do business development on one side and marketing on the other, and you can do them both equally well or reasonably well, they're going to meet at the peak of the mountain. And that's where a lot of times the promised land is for lawyers that have regular reoccurring business coming in. They just need to maintain it.
Okay, so that leads perfectly into the big question, where you've got your business development efforts, you've got your marketing efforts. You should have the right team for these people, because at some point, actually, this is kind of answering the big question. So you've got all these different parts. Now you've also got your cases, your current clients, you've got your past clients you have to address, you've got your staff people, you have got the rest of your life, maybe your family, whatever. So how do you... or can you find balance with all of these things? And if so, how?
The first thing people probably need to do is consider, what does balance mean for them? So what balance means for me is different than what balance might mean for someone who's working at a large firm billing 2,000 hours. They might think, if I can just get that down to 1,800, I'm going to have balance. Other people would say, if I could get up to 1,800, that would be, so I have too much balance. I don't have enough work. Okay. So everybody's got it. So I'd say, sometimes a good way to do it, and this is not easy to do, but it's a good way to do it, is to work backwards, to say, this is the way I want my life to be. This is the time I want to spend with my family. These are the vacations I want to take. This is how much I want to make. This is how, when I want to retire, all that. And then figure out, reverse, kind of create it from that, and then figure out, does that mean I have to work for myself? Does that mean I need to stay at a big firm? Do I need to move to the mid-market? If so, what's the right culture? Do they care about, balance, or are they just trying to crush hours and make money? And that's all they care about, the billable hour. So there's so many different factors, Karen, getting through this. It's there's a lot that goes into figuring out what is balance, and maybe what are the priorities that you have in your life, and how can you, construct that around those priorities.
Yeah, and honestly, I feel like this is the one area where we do have crossover, because I know that when you initially sit down with your clients, and we've talked about this in the past, and same for us, we are going to start with that. And we call it strategy meetings, and maybe that's what you guys call it or some other word, but it's just having a plan. And so when you look at all these life coaches that are all over social media, and they're talking to anyone of any kind of, whether they're working for a corporate, they've got their own business or whatever, it all starts with having a plan and having that defined idea of what you're trying to accomplish, because you can't get there if you haven't figured out where you're going. Like how is it
Right.
how are you gonna know it's successful if you haven't defined success to begin with? So the first idea is to say, okay, what does that mean for me? And like you said, life success is so different for some people. Some people want to make sure they're taking care of their parents. And so making sure that they've got that all set up, and whatever the case might be. Some people, have a totally different life plan. So figuring that out first is key. And that's the same for business development. So for your sales plan, your marketing plan, any of those things, you have to lay it all out and set those goals in place first.
Yeah, and one of the challenges I have, and this is, not an ego thing, this is just the reality. I'm working with lawyers that are highly ambitious. I'm working with lawyers who want to be business development assassins or rainmakers at their firm. And so we work on that together. Guess what? We hit it. We do it. We're getting into the millions. We're getting into the big numbers. And now they're like, okay, now what? Now I have all this business, and I'm getting given work from other people. And now I'm not seeing my family, and now I don't have that balance.
Yeah.
It's like, what did you do to me,
Right.
Fretzin? I go, well,
Yeah.
we need to consider that the work coming in from your partners needs to be managed and handled in a way that doesn't hurt relationships, but where there's an understanding of what work you're going to handle. You've got to figure out how you're going to delegate down the work that's under your pay grade, or that, how to have a team atmosphere versus an individual atmosphere. There's all these moving parts to take all those spinning plates and let a few of them crash around you, but keep the main ones running, spinning. And that's not easy to do. So that's where a lot of lawyers are finding challenges. It's like they're almost a victim of their own success. And so we always are trying to, work with them on reevaluating, replanning, looking at delegation, looking at time management, and being an expert at that as well as business development, because they go hand in hand.
So that is a great point, and something that's been coming up a lot lately in my conversations is this idea of this part of the definition of marketing that a lot of people gloss over, which is you make a plan, but then you reevaluate and adjust as necessary. And that second part is the most important part, because when you first start, your plan is somewhat of a guess. And so you're aiming and you're hoping to get somewhere in a general vicinity. But then if you're not readjusting and changing your plan based on what's working and what's not working, then the whole thing is pointless. So how frequently do you sit down and re-plan and reevaluate and refine your plans as they're going on?
Yeah, so it's happening on a fairly regular basis. So we identify the main areas, for example, of business development, and I'm all about helping lawyers figure out where the low-hanging fruit is. So it's not about doing everything. It's about picking the 2 or 3 things that are going to be most fruitful to grow business, to generate brand awareness, to build that book of business. That's where, having your own clients today has never been more important. You don't want to have 10 different bosses, meaning your clients and your partners, right, are all your bosses at this point. You're being told what to do every day.
Sure.
So the freedom and the control that happens with your own book of business. But once that happens and you're getting the momentum in the right place, then we have to start looking at maybe trimming that away and say, okay, so you've been doing 3 things. It's taking X number of hours a week or a month to do. You're bringing in all this business. All right, so let's stop doing one of those 3 things. Let's focus on the 2 that are working. So, for example, a great one of this for lawyers at mid-market or small mid-market large firms is cross-marketing. So now you're generating revenue for the firm You're doing a little bit of management on the client relationship side, but you're not doing all the billable work. It's all going to your partners and you're feeding them. And one of my friends who's who's a former managing partner of a very large firm said, I'd always rather be a distribution center than a warehouse. So
yes.
famous Tony Nashar, Tony, if you're listening. So he's with Polsinelli. Oh, there,
I'm
I
sure
just
he's
gave it
out
away.
there.
He's listening somewhere.
Yeah.
But the point of that is, what a wonderful way to grow business, to build originations, and then to not be then accountable to have to do the 1,000 hours of work that are associated
Yes.
with what you're bringing in. So a number of my clients find that they're enjoying and feeling more freedom and balance from being a business developer than a biller. And so their goal is to figure out, how do I, cross market? And maybe the second one is, how do I get quality, high level quality introductions from the clients that love me, from the people that I've done great work for, that I have a great relationship for. And lawyers would love to say, hey, all my clients love me. They send me work all the time. If you've got that type of gig, aces, good job. Most lawyers, they're not getting it the way they used to. People are just too busy. So now we have to come up with strategies and ways and language to get quality introductions in a salesy way, so that it almost becomes the client. Yeah, so it's more like the client's idea, but we have to bring it up in a way that they're going to buy into it. And that can be a very easy way to get, another corporation, another general counsel, another CEO that is going to be on your roster without doing a whole lot of work.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you're talking a lot about another one of my favorite things, which is just having really great systems in place, and making sure that you have all of the background things in a very organized way, so that you don't have to be doing every single tiny little detail. And I know we were talking about this before, where having those systems and being super organized, it can really may be the difference between success or failure. And I know for myself, I had these amazing notebooks that I used when I was getting my MBA, and it helped me to organize my calendar. And I did a FEMBA program, which is a fully employed. So I was working 9 to 5 and then going to school in the evening. And so it was insane. And if I didn't have everything organized and have it all in to the point where it was a little bit OCD, I would not. I feel like that is probably the number one success that the reason that I was successful with my MBA is just keeping it clear in my head. So do you coach your clients through kind of systems and organizations and how to get all of this stuff in place?
Yeah. So without that, we're in a real predicament. So we're talking about delegation. We're talking about organization. We're talking about automation. And I'll give you one example that has been a game changer for me, and my clients are getting it every chance they can get from me, is scheduling. So I want to schedule, Karen, with you a 30-minute Zoom. So I give you, hey, let's get it together. You say, sure, Steve, what works for you? Then I say, hey, these dates work for me. You come back, 3 days later and say, those don't work. How about these dates? Those don't work for me. All right. So now I've got 5-6 emails in with you, but I'm doing that with 10 other people too at the same time.
Right.
So now we've got things like Calendly, Acuity. I've got mine working through Lawmatics, for example, where I don't schedule anything with anyone anymore. It's done. All they do is get my link. It's a customized link that goes to my website that does it, and I'm out.
And it shows up in their time zone, which that I love too, because you don't have to be like, okay, did you mean 11 Central or I'm in Pacific? And so, oh gosh, that is such a nightmare. It's like way too much math.
but smart automations like scheduling automations, practice management automations, CRM automations. I have something for my email called Boomerang. So I'm giving all these free sponsors out, but Boomerang. So
I love Boomerang.
If I email somebody, right, and I want to know that they did or didn't respond to me in, let's say, a week. I'm giving them a week, all right, to respond to me.
Yep.
They don't respond to me. It pops up at the top of my inbox and says, this person didn't respond to you. Now I send them the next email to follow up. I don't have to remember it. I don't have to have a note about it. I don't have to have a posty sticky somewhere. In fact, I have no paper. If you look in my office, I have zero paper. There's no paper to use.
The other nice thing that I love about that, I was going to talk about the remarkable next. And the other nice thing that I love about the boomerang is, especially for sales, because I tend to enjoy most of sales, but it's the follow-up process that I find a little painful, and you're sitting there wondering what they think and all of that stuff. And so I had to remove all of the emotion out of the follow-up process, and Boomerang did that, where I don't want to even see their emails sitting in my inbox for more than 3 minutes, unless it's time for me to do a follow-up. And then I send the templated follow-up, and then I remove it from my inbox, so I don't have to see it. I don't think about it. There's no emotion involved in it at all. And I literally will oftentimes forget about it until it pops up in my inbox again. And I think there's something much healthier about that than sitting there thinking, oh, I wonder what they're thinking, and did I say something wrong, or all of that stuff.
Yeah, and so we need to come up with organization and automation, and so maybe getting to the point where a lot of lawyers, their email runs their day. Their email dictates how their whole day is going to go, and that's not what any efficiency expert would say is the way to run your day or run your week. So my goof has always been, did you have the week, or did the week have you? And for most lawyers, it's the latter. I mean, that they're not running their week. They're just playing put out the fires all day, and you're not going to be in a position to market, business develop, or anything, and stay organized if that's how you're allowing your life to be run.
Yeah, much less just feel healthy and feel like, going back to the whole topic, feel like you have any kind of balance in your life where it's like, okay, I feel like I can breathe. Yeah.
And that's a great lead into, a book like Getting Things Done. And I don't know if we're talking about that now or later, but, David Allen is a game changer for me. I mean, Karen, I'm a feather on the wind. Like, I'm an entrepreneur through and through. So I'm floating all over the place. I've got ideas. I've got business ideas. I've got at least 12 inventions I'm never going to do. I mean, this is the way that I'm built. All right. It just is.
Right.
And getting things
You're
done.
You're an idea guy.
I'm an ideas man. You see, like old timey 1920s salesman. No, right. But the idea that I can run my life. I mean, I had stacks of business cards. I had brochures mixed in with proposals, mixed in with receipts, my whole world was stacks of paper. All right. And you would say, hey, Steve, there's that guy, John, that you wanted to introduce me to. Who's that? And I go, oh, I don't know, give me an hour. And I'd sit there for an hour looking through business cards. So I wasn't running my life properly until I read and executed on that book. And it's just an absolute game changer for me. And every client that I work with gets a copy of that book as a part of my package going out. Because if you're not able to stay organized and manage your time, then you're going to have a real hard time growing business in a sustainable way. Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to even just sit down and get your day started and really accomplish anything in any meaningful way because you're just sort of overwhelmed to begin with. So tell us your kind of big takeaways from that book. What does he kind of talk about, and why is that, spoiler alert, that's the book that Steve is recommending for this show.
Yeah, it is. Spoiler alert. But so think about this. We have thousands and thousands of things hitting us and bombarding us all day long, right? Coming into our heads, right? Emails, text, work, billable, trial coming up. Okay. And so what David Allen talks about is breaking it into basically the 4 Ds. All right. The first D is do it. If it's under 2 minutes and you can knock it out, do it. Just get it done, knock it out, and be done with it. You don't have to look at it again. All right. Yes, I'll meet you for lunch on Thursday. Done. It's out. It's gone. I don't have to worry about it. The second one is defer it. And that doesn't mean procrastinate. What that means is actually schedule time to do something that's going to take some brain work. So you've got a 20-minute to an hour, 3-hour, 5-hour brief or anything you've got to do. Actually schedule time with yourself as though you're scheduling time with someone else, but it's you time. And don't blow it off. It's like working out, blowing off your workouts. It's not going to work. You have to commit that when you put something down in your calendar, that's when it's going to happen. And of course, if an emergency comes up, you don't get rid of it. You just move it along, but don't just keep moving it along in perpetuity.
Forever.
The third D is delegate it. And this is the one that lawyers really miss the boat on. Every single thing that you can delegate out of your life, personally and business-wise, needs to be delegated. So my wife catches me delegating all the time, and she gets annoyed. She's like, "You just delegated to me." I'm like, "Well, Yeah, I guess they just did that, didn't I? Where I'm delegating to my teenager, I'm delegating to my cousin. Hey, will you set up that golf tee time for us? Yeah, that'd be great. All right. Like just put it out there. But I have a virtual assistant. I have a marketing team. I have, automations in place, things that so I don't have to be the leader of everything all the time and doing all the small stuff. There's a general rule too, that if you're doing something at $20 to $50 an hour and you're doing that task, making copies, answering the phone, the list goes on and on. That's something that would be a deferred situation. So the good news is it's never been easier to find either assistants, virtual assistants, helpers for very little money that can take
for everything.
For everything these days. So you don't have to do everything. I'm catching people.
Sorry to jump in.
No.
Sorry. My favorite thing that I've delegated over the last couple of years is laundry. So we're in kind of a nice, tight, sort of suburban community. And so there's a bajillion houses around. And there's this service and I'm sure most communities have this, but we put these giant laundry bags out on our front step, and they pick it up, and the next day it's back on our step, perfectly folded. They use like these machines, like you see where like
awesome.
at the
and
Gap, where it's all
bank, right?
exactly. It's definitely not breaking the bank. I could never be on top of it as much as that is, and it gives me this freedom for hours in my day. And I hated laundry, hated it. Like I dreaded it, and it made me miserable. So aside from the convenience and efficiency of it, like it makes me a healthier person when these other people are, taking this off of my shoulders. So, all of those little things that you look at and you're like, do I hate this so much that I'm willing to pay for it? Yeah, then do it. Get it off your shoulders.
So if you're a lawyer listening to this and you're billing $500 an hour and you're doing laundry and you hate doing laundry and you're going to pay someone $50 to do your laundry a week or whatever, $100 a week, you're getting that back in spades on the billable hour and your sanity and you're getting time back. So,
and
be smart about
really
how you
nicely folded.
Yes, that's really good too. And let me wrap it up with the fourth D, which is drop it, which is there are things that you should not be doing at all that aren't even delegatable. You shouldn't be surfing the web and looking on Amazon during the workday if you need to get work done. Don't get distracted and understand there's things you don't take on that third board position. Say no to things. Get comfortable saying no. You're taking on too much and it's not working out. You're not getting the balance, and part of it's your fault because you're a yes person, which I get it. Like, I love everybody, and I want to say yes to everybody, and I'm not playing that game anymore. Like, I want to say yes to taking my wife to Italy. I want to say yes to things that I really care about and that I can enjoy, not, taking a third board position.
Yeah, and I feel like this is the same kind of advice that we give our clients when we lay out a marketing strategy and we say, okay, here's how we're going to plan the next year. Granted, keep in mind, we're going to make adjustments as we go along. But this quarter, we're going to do X. Next quarter, we're going to do Y. And then as we're going through next quarter and we're planning for Y, and all of a sudden, out of left field, you saw something on TikTok, we're not going to get distracted by that. And so same for your life and the rest of all of your plans. Make sure that you have these ideas in mind, and then you don't get distracted by all of those things that you say yes to that completely get in the way of the things that you really want in your life. So what's one good thing that that works?
Well, I'm going to say something that you will agree with right away. And I mentioned earlier that I don't have any paper, and I mean, so much disorganization comes from that. So I've got my Remarkable 2, and I'm not paid by them. I'm not sponsored by them. They should be paying me. They should be paying you, but they don't because they've got a killer product. And the killer product is it feels like paper. Everything is put in a folder. Everything is organized. Everything syncs with Dropbox. Everything syncs with Google Drive. It is insane. Even my book cover, which you guys can see in the background, or I'll just hold it up. I created that book cover on my Remarkable 2, terrible, like,
oh my gosh, that's awesome.
Caveman drawing.
Just a rough sketch.
And then I gave it to my stepbrother, rough sketch, but it was enough to give it to my stepbrother, who's an artist. And then within 2 days, he said, "Is this what you want?" And that's this. So
bada bing, bada boom.
It's just an amazing, and think about this. Now, it's not cheap, right? You and I would agree it's not cheap.
Yeah, it's about $500.
Okay. Is a surgeon that is saving people's lives with a scalpel gonna complain about the price of an expensive scalpel that works, that's his favorite scalpel, her favorite scalpel? No.
Yep.
This is a tool,
right.
like anything's a tool. And if you want to be really efficient with your time and efficient with how you manage your workflow and your notes that you take and everything that's going on, PDFs, loading, and then writing on PDFs, oh my God. And I'm not even using probably 20% of the functionality of it, because I'm lazy in that.
So I will add my little nerdy thing, because we've had a number of conversations now about this Remarkable too. And so I have templates that I've loaded in for all of my sales calls, these podcast episodes, but my to-do list. And I am kind of a stationery and paper freak. Like, I love going into these little Japanese stores with this awesome paper and I have very, very, very specific preferences about pens and the tips and all of that stuff. But so I have tried everything. I've tried every kind of planner. I have tried the Cornell method. I have tried literally every kind of planner under the sun. And the problem is that I would have these notepads where I'm like taking notes on a phone call or taking notes for different things. And then I would have paper and it would get lost. And I have a notepad over here, a notepad over there. And this is the only thing I've ever found that works, where I've got all my notes. I can access this. Do you use the mobile app? Because did you know they have a mobile app? And I pull it up all the time.
I don't. I mean, I have like the mobile app is on my phone in the sense of like it's. Yeah. If I need to like pull up something like some notes to look at, but I didn't. Are you actually putting notes on your phone? Use.
No, not really. It's basically, I really like to handwrite my to-do list because I like to cross things out and whatever. So I have my to-do list, but if I'm out somewhere and I'm like, what was that one thing? I like to just pull it up on my phone. Oh, there it is.
Yep.
So I just reference files and stuff within my Remarkable. But that was a huge missing point. Like, where if I would be, at my kids' gymnastics class and my notepad was at home, like, I'm out of luck. So anyway, I don't want to make this too much of a commercial for Remarkable, but it's awesome, highly recommended, and it totally works. It totally works to solve all of those like organizational problems that I was having. Yeah,
me too. I mean, I just love how nice, and I'm a bit of an OCD neat freak, and so the idea that I have an office where there's no paper and I've got no folders, I've just got clean, clear desk and wood and my podcasting equipment and all that, like, it's wonderful.
Yeah, but at the same time, it lets you take notes where you feel like you're handwriting them. So there's times when I am writing out ideas and I'm handwriting them, or I'm sketching something like you're describing, and that was the missing piece for me, because like I can do that kind of stuff in Google Docs or whatever, but sometimes I need to feel like I'm writing something down, and this is where that comes in. It's awesome.
One more thing I want to mention. The eraser. So I'm a lefty and I have terrible handwriting. My handwriting's atrocious, okay? The idea that I wrote a word, I write the word lawyer, and the Y looks like something that you can't even read, okay? I just quickly erase it, and then I slowly write a Y so I can read it. And I don't have, it's not a pen, it's not a pencil, it's not paper. I don't have like eraser junk all over the place.
Yes.
It's just so clean. I love it.
Yeah, it is. It's awesome. Okay, so what's one big takeaway that you'd like people to get? Because we talked about a lot of stuff. We talked about tips and organization and balance, and I wrote down some stuff that we didn't even get to because there's not enough time in the day. But what's the one big takeaway that you'd like people to get from this episode?
Well, I'm going to say something because I hear it from recruiters every single week, and it's because I do this for a living, that having your own clients is the most important thing in your career as a lawyer, next to being a great lawyer. So be a great lawyer, number one. Number two is, if you're getting all of your work from everyone else, or you don't know where your next client's coming from, in that stress, in that lack of balance, and that just cranking out the billable hour, that isn't a great way to live. So whether it's marketing, whether it's business development, whether it's organization, whatever the case might be, really consider that you need to take some steps to get organized, to have strategy, to have process in place, to develop your own clients That's a big part of how you can develop that balance and develop the freedom and control in a legal career.
That's really good advice. I feel like there's all these different pieces, all these tools we're talking about, but at the end of the day, you have to have your own book of business, because otherwise somebody else is really running your business.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, awesome. All right, Steve, thank you. We will link to your new book, which is Legal Business Development Isn't Rocket Science. So we'll link to that. Thank you for holding that up. We will also, I think we'll link to The Remarkable, because we had a good chunk of our conversation about that. Your website and all your great social media, and the book, of course. But thank you so much for being here. This was such a great conversation. I feel like there's a million little nuggets of value that we were talking about that people are going to have tons of takeaways.
Well, I appreciate you having me. This was an absolute pleasure.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the CounselCast podcast. Be sure to visit our website at counsel-cast.com for the resources mentioned on the episode and to give us your feedback. If you enjoyed this episode, I would appreciate if you could rate and review the podcast on Apple and subscribe to your favorite podcast platform. See you on the next one.